everybody is on this category creation bandwagon, and I honestly think that, well, like most things, it's a bunch of bullshit, right? So you have a bunch of marketers now out there. They're thinking, guys, all we have to do is come up with this kick-ass category. We go create some ads, we go create some content, and we start pushing out to the market, and we're going to get all these leads, we're going to get new buyers. This is the key to fixing our growth, right? And I just say, hell no. Category creation is the biggest reason why you're in this mess. It's what most marketers do. They chase shiny objects. They're looking for that damn silver bullet. They're doing the growth hacking, looking for that one little growth opportunity. And category creation is just that latest buzzword with it. And I'm just going to drop the mic right there. I'm done.
Come on, Jay. One thing is to say that marketers aren't getting it right. Another thing, which would be crazy to say, is that category creation isn't a real thing, right? Like, let's separate between the two. Also,
in Fantasyland, it's a real thing.
Category creation is also misleading as a term, because a lot of people think, oh, what does that mean? You sit around a room and you just come up with a category name and you just say, like, this is who we are. Like, that's not it. There's a discipline to actually design category, right? Category design. Not going to bore you with Play Bigger, but if you read the book, like, you actually get an understanding of what does it take to get there. Other thing is this. It isn't necessarily like category creation or nothing, right? Like, there is some stuff in between. You mentioned Andy Raskin, who talks a lot about old game, new game. Telling the story of a new game that customers can play in order to win can lead to a category being created. So my argument is, okay, if you're not going to be a category creator, if you're not going to focus on category design in your company, you better at least work on the strategic narrative that talks about a new game versus the old game, and then you can see if that can lead you to category. If you're not doing any of those, what the hell are you doing?
So, I mean, I think I sit somewhere in between both of you. I've been at a category creator. I've been at many non-category creators. What I think about category creation is that it can help you break into a market. It can help you, create this great, pipeline to go to a market with. But it's not sustainable, right? I was at a category creator. We created a category. We had it recognized by Gartner. And guess what happened? A competitor joined our category. It was not a sustainable strategy for growth, right? Because at some point you have competitors come in. Look, I was at Blackboard, right? That's like a key example of a category creator. They created the learning management system, but then many competitors came in and that market became super complex and they could no longer just say, we're the category creator, right? So the problem is it just not a strategy for long-term growth? Now I'm in the business intelligence market, right? I mean, those people are super hesitant towards marketing. We couldn't just come to market and say, oh, we've created infused analytics and now they're different. Like, they would call BS. I agree. You have to go at, maybe it's narrative. Maybe it is truly understanding your customer, right? Your ICPs, and effectively marketing to your personas. I would take that 100% above and beyond category creation any day.
Yeah, so I want to piggyback on a few things, though. One, we'll get to you, Liz, but Jorgen said, right, like, it's not sitting in a room coming with categories, but the reality is that's what most people are doing, and that's why I'm so anti it. Yeah. Like, that's what is happening, is people are getting in a room right now saying the problem is there's too many competitors, we need a new category.
How do we differentiate, Jay? Oh, let's go. I heard X and X did that,
I'm not calling them out negatively, but like Active Campaign, right? Again, they're a unicorn. They're obviously doing great things, but their category, if I look at it and they've tried to create one, like, it doesn't mean anything to me, right? Like, I see them as a buyer as marketing automation and email marketing. So they're creating this confusion. And honestly, I don't think they needed a category to be $1 billion company, right? So that's where, like, my issue is it's just a lot of marketers thinking that category creation is the future for them, when the reality is they're really skipping what matters, which is the story, which is honestly what most marketers are super weak at. 99.9% of brands suck at storytelling, and a category creation is just a little shiny object that they go chase to avoid the storytelling.
So the thing we can agree on, right, is that, as with a lot of things, us marketers aren't always getting our approach to it right? So to sit in a room and just say, hey, we got to come up with a category. Oh, and why? because our existing category is too crowded, so we just like need to find another pool to swim in. Like that is like fundamentally getting it wrong, right?
Yeah.
The discipline though of category design, what you would go through to come up with something that could be a sustainable category, that's a little bit different. But I wanted to jump back to what Liz was saying. I can understand the point about maybe it's not something that lasts for a decade, etc. And of course, if it's a real category, others will jump in. But what other strategy is more long-term than actually creating a narrative that has the category on the back of it and that you can be the leader of and that you can be the first of even if others join? Like, what's more long-term than that?
I mean, to me, there's never going to be a long-term story. The market changes, digital transformation makes everything crazy, right? I do think as long as you have a pulse to your buyer and you can learn how their problems shift over time and you can pivot to tell a story about how you solve their problems, to me, that is much more effective and a much better use of any marketer's time than chasing a category.
I want to ask a question really quick on this category creation thing, actually, because there's one thing that's bothered me as markets get more saturated. And this is just a really good kind of segue topic really quick. Can storytelling in even this old versus new game reach a point where people are telling the same story? Is that going to happen eventually? Where it's just, there isn't anything new to say. Everybody's kind of saying the same thing, right? So I'm just maybe... I kind of see some of that, right? Drift saw it, which is why Drift started a new category again, right? Where everybody was kind of telling the same story. But how many more times can you flip that story to something new and not have people catching up like they are with features?
I think it's a super fair point and question, Jay. But it's a little bit back to what Liz was saying, though. Like the game does evolve, right? Like it changes, and you do have to change with it, even if you're serving the same customer.
Yeah.
Drift's shift from conversational marketing from a few years ago to revenue acceleration is not a forced, awkward, hey, we just came up with some random shit type of move. It is truly a reflection of like where the buyers are. Like the two worlds that you're talking about, Liz, between like category creation and fundamentally understanding your buyer and solving their problems, they should not be mutually exclusive. They should be the same thing, right? Like the category should be the result of a story about a new way that customers can actually fulfill like whatever the hell they want to do, right? Like that's what it should be. So if you're going about that the right way, saying, all right, number one, I'm going to make sure I understand my audience because I exist to serve my audience rather than to sell some shit. So that's number one. Number two, I'm going to understand that for them to be successful now, requires a different approach than last year or whenever, right? So I'm going to establish this new game, old game thing. Cool. All right. Now, if I really get that right and I have a certain lens and a certain worldview, then that could be the beginnings of a category. And if I do that as a marketer, I'm on a really freaking great path, right? Like I am onto something if I can do that.
Yeah. I mean,
Liz, any parting shots?
I mean, I agree with 1 and 2. I just don't think the category needs to be a piece. I mean, I think you are a lucky company if you can go and create a category. You have enough open space in your market. You're not business intelligence where you have every single leader like Google as your competitor, right? I just think it's about getting close to your persona and really thoroughly developing your ICP, having ears to the ground, and making sure that both your product development and your story pivots with the market. And if you get lucky, you're right. Maybe you'll have a category creation, but I wouldn't hang your hat on it because I don't think it happens for many. It's like the 1%. If you get lucky and draw that category creation lottery card, congratulations, you've done fantastic. But if you haven't, at least you have a sustainable pathway to growth with your narrative.
Let me say one more thing. I think one of the reasons why it is both really hard, but also really important to pursue category design as a discipline inside your organization is that it forces a conversation about real strategic choices. It forces the conversation of where are we going to play and how are we going to win? And ultimately, if you don't get that shit right at some level, I don't care what you call it, if you don't have an answer to where exactly are we going to play and how exactly are we going to win, you're done.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I just don't think category creation is necessary. I don't think if your company has an idea strategically of where they want to be in the future, I think a lot of companies waste time chasing the category and praying that it'll happen, and they hang their hat on it. They see it on LinkedIn. And for a practical day-to-day marketer, it's just a waste of time. Yes, they should have a vision about where their product wants to be and how their product solves problems, and they should spend time on product differentiation and brand differentiation. I just think 9 times out of 10 that time spent on category creation as a whole of your strategy, yes, if you can get that right and it makes sense for you, go for it. But it's just, I think it's not something to hang your hat on.
Liz, I'll give you that final word, but we got to come back to this one, okay?
Yes.
This one's hot.
Battle again.
Jay, wrap us up though.
All right. Well, that's it. Category creation not done. So we will have to do this
Never
on
done.
another episode.